All right, everybody, it's another episode of the Reserve Man Podcast. I'm Jake Brown. I got with me GP.
What's happening?
Shagari.
What up?
What's up, Stan?
What up?
We have with us State Representative Ted James.
What's up, people?
And Harper.
Oh, now you don't want to talk.
We're going to talk a little bit about the heartbeat bill today that recently passed in Louisiana. We're also going to tackle a couple other important issues, such as minimum wage. We're going to talk about teachers getting paid or not. That and so much more right after this.
Fix my bridge, man.
You know your credit score, man. I'm not gonna clown you. That's solid quality stuff. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books when it's Wait a minute. If I want you, I ain't saying you to Waffle House at 2 a.m. Cause you bullshit. Look, I care about you. We going to Waffle House.
All right, everybody, we're back, and we have a good episode for you today. We're going to be talking about some pretty interesting issues. We have back with us State Representative Ted James. You know, it's been a lot going on lately in our legislature. So we're going to, address some of the most recent things. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know, bro?
A reintroduction.
Well, look, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
You guys have been talking about some very thought-provoking issues, some funny issues, some relationship issues. But most folks don't take the time to talk about these structural, political, and policy issues that affect us. So thank you guys for even having the foresight to have a conversation. For your listeners, I'm Ted James, Baton Rouge native, member of Louisiana House of Representatives. This is year 8, the final year of my second term. Vice chair of the Black Caucus, and just trying to bring some common sense to a system that common sense isn't always common.
Yeah.
That was a mouthful right there.
Well, thank you for coming, brother. We always appreciate you hanging out with us, having a conversation.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate you. I got a guest with me. I got my little girl Harper is here, so if y'all hear a little rumblings, that's her between watching Bubble Guppies over here.
Man, Harper's first podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, man, she want to get her input in too.
Yeah.
Let's dive right into it, man. For those that have been paying attention, they know that we've had this heartbeat legislation going on. It's been signed by the governor. Can you just talk a little bit about what the bill says and how that's going to impact people in Louisiana?
Cool. Just frankly, the bill, number one, is unconstitutional. Let's start there. So I've referred to it as the unconstitutional, and what folks have referred to it as the fetal heartbeat bill, a 6-week bill. So it basically says that a doctor cannot perform an abortion in the state of Louisiana once a heartbeat is detected, and we know that that's either 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Very problematic because most people don't even know that they're pregnant.
Exactly.
At that time, and on the floor when we were talking about it, I mentioned the story when the first ultrasound, Veronica and I went for Harper, and we knew she was pregnant, but we couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bean; it was just a little twinkle. Yeah. And the technician was like, "Well, there's the baby," and it was like looking into the sky at a star. Right. Like and some folks, depending on folks, the debate is, when does life start? When has a life been detected? So this bill is one of just a problematic, unconstitutional bill that's unfortunately making its way throughout the country.
Quick question: why do you say it's unconstitutional?
Number one, like, abortion is still the law of the land. Roe v. Wade hasn't been overturned, and until it is, Louisiana and other states, or every law that we pass is unconstitutional. It's costing us a lot of money. This year, a lot of attention has been placed on this unconstitutional bill, the fetal heartbeat bill, but this is, every year we are doing something to try to make it harder for women to obtain abortions. This is just the first year it's really got national attention.
Okay. So what do you think brought that national attention about? Because like you said, I don't recall it being this much of an issue. Like it was always kind of like a smaller issue, but I don't recall at a point in time where it was this big of a deal.
Yeah, I think that people are recognizing that the makeup of the Supreme Court has shifted with, Brett Kavanaugh, and the reality that if President Trump can pick another Supreme Court nominee, this issue and a lot of other issues that are important to the black community will be under attack. And that's just, but the reason why states are doing this, you can't, the court can't just say, let's go overturn Roe v. Wade. So cases have to make it up to the Supreme Court for that challenge. So what states are doing, they're being very strategic about bringing up these laws so that the multiple challenges mean that there are multiple opportunities to get to the Supreme Court. So without a test case, the law of the land will stand. So that's why states are continuing to pass it. And they know it's unconstitutional. Even ours says that our law won't come into effect unless the law of Mississippi is enacted, and that's problematic in itself. Following Mississippi, right?
Following Mississippi and Alabama.
Exactly. And I know we'll probably get into it later, but my colleagues brag about us being one of the top 5 anti-abortion states, while we get reports about us being ranked 50th in just
Education,
everything.
Right.
So we are excited about that. Like come to Louisiana, you can't get an abortion, but your kids won't read, right? You won't be cared for, and it's unfortunate that we are so intentional about racing to the top of rankings and don't really care too much about ranking last in education and healthcare and infrastructure and all these other things.
Exactly. We want you to have the kid, but we won't help you
at the
take care
same
of it.
time, I don't get how they don't get that that's problematic in itself. So if you have these mothers that can't afford to give their kids better education, can't afford to put them in private schools, can't afford for proper schooling and to take care of them, then you're gonna have this constant line of poverty that has us at the bottom of everything because we can't afford to flourish in those other areas that would have us on top of those other, in top of the other numbers in terms of pay and education and all that. We already don't have. It's very hard to be a teacher here because the pay sucks. Nobody wants to go in education here. So we have so many impoverished people lacking education. We're gonna continue to be at the bottom, and bills like this gonna further push that issue. We're gonna stay at the bottom with that.
A lot of folks have said, and I say we're not pro-life, we pro-birth, because we want this baby. We're gonna force you to have a baby, and then once the baby is here, if you're a woman, in corporate America in Louisiana, you, especially a black woman, you're gonna make 60 cents on the dollar compared to a white man. If you're working a minimum wage job, we couldn't even get it up to $8.25, let alone over $10. So we're gonna force you to have this baby when you're already impoverished, and we know that how expensive a kid is. And then the same people that talk about how much they love babies don't want you to have health care for them. So we're gonna force you to have them because they're so precious, and we want to protect them. But once they get here, it's almost like we tell that woman, carry the baby in the right hand, and then you better pull your bootstraps up with your left hand because you're on your own now. And that's one of the unfortunate things about the entire issue.
You know what else is I find unfortunate? And it's noble for someone to give their child up for adoption if they can't take care of it. But I just kind of think it's a little difficult to say, well, the right option is to give somebody up for adoption when you will force somebody to carry a baby for 9 months
that they don't want,
and just give the baby away. You don't grow like an attachment to the baby. I just don't see how that's cool. Then to your point about poverty, you gotta go to the doctor and take care of yourself while you're pregnant.
And a child.
And then you're not guaranteed to place that child with somebody being in the system,
that's assuming that
being
you
in foster care. Most foster children don't get picked up.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everybody don't want to adopt. Everybody want to have their own. Fortunately you have some people that want to adopt, but them kids stay in the system for years, and that system become the jail system.
That's right.
For a lot of them.
Yeah. That's true.
And the unfortunate part, I tried to amend the bill to exclude victims of rape and incest, and you can't even force a woman, and I kept saying it's I'm not man enough to tell a woman. That's what I said. I'm not man enough to tell a woman if she's been raped. you know, the trauma that entails, and then you have a reminder of that every day.
Yeah.
Like every as your body
Yeah.
changes, every kick, every time you vomit, every craving you have is a reminder of the trauma that you went through.
Right.
And the hypocrisy of it. As I look at my colleagues, everybody, all 104 of my colleagues have the means, the resources, the network. If something happened to their child, is no way. If their 14-year-old daughter or granddaughter, it don't matter what the law is, they gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
Period. If it's something that happened to their wife, you know, you can't tell me if a man rapes your wife, you gonna talk about how that baby's a blessing.
Right.
Right.
Nah.
We talking about that.
You know, that's just, it's no way that you're gonna, you know, well, you should have the choice, right? I'm not gonna say some brothers wouldn't, but the fact that, like, we having a conversation around the table, that's the type of conversation that this should be if you are raped or you got a sleazy uncle that did something with your child or your granddaughter.
Yeah.
And, you know, to force it, you know, I looked at my colleagues and I know these guys, and I know, but we talking about poor folks, and what's gonna happen is, just like women are running the hotel rooms to get butt shots,
Yeah.
they could be running the hotel rooms to get abortions, and it's not going to stop. It's just we're inviting, we're begging for an underground market, and more people to be harmed.
That's all we're gonna be doing. Underground doctors gonna be popping. It's gonna be money being made
They're
on
not
the
even be
side.
doctors.
And this a little graphic, but I said to y'all that
Yeah.
it's gonna take, and it's not even racist. It's gonna take those same people that's against it. It's gonna take their daughters and their granddaughters getting raped by a race or someone that they deem unwanted, and it's gonna have to be documented that their daughter or granddaughter got raped, and that for that law to change, for people to be like, well, your granddaughter
Well, I
or
don't
daughter.
think the law gonna change. They just gonna handle it.
I'm saying, but it would.
Not through law though. They just gonna handle it.
I know they would handle it, but I'm saying like it would take someone knowing about it and to call them out for it to change.
That's the thing. You got.
They gonna have major discretion, but like I said, ain't no way that your affluent self will sit there and let your daughter who's been raped, who didn't have who doesn't want the child, ain't no way you allow her to have that child.
Look, we were having a conversation in the back, and I was like, look, all your daughters go to some private school somewhere. I was like, and it's a dude that's either on the basketball or football team that don't live in your neighborhood but go to your child's school because he's an athlete.
Right.
And don't tell me your daughter and this dude at some pool party after school, and this athlete, he forced himself on her, or she tell you he forced himself on her, and she becomes pregnant. Like, that's when folks are gonna make some move. Just like the opioid thing. Like, opioid, it's an epidemic now because white folks are impacted by it, right? You know, that's why it's an epidemic, right? If black police officers out there killing white men, unarmed white men, we have all kind of laws on the books, but it doesn't impact them, so they don't care.
Yeah, that's when it starts affecting the soccer moms.
That's it.
You know,
That's
the
it.
suburban.
That's why vaping.
Well,
That's why we want to crack down on vaping, because that's a white kid problem.
Yeah.
Right. Our young black kids are still smoking weed, and we know it ain't gonna kill them. It's just gonna make them hungry. Right.
Yeah.
But vaping has attacked the suburbs, so now it's an issue for us to be dealing with at the legislature because it's impacting their kids.
Right. You know what else I see is going to be an issue? Kind of back to Shagari's point about the black market doctors. People going to start getting sick, and it's going to start getting infections, dealing with their abortions, you know, the underground way, and that's going to be an issue too that we're going to have to deal
Well,
with.
not only the underground abortions. Like I said, you're gonna have dudes drop kicking their girlfriends in the stomach.
That's right.
You're gonna have girls falling downstairs. You're gonna have girls fake accidents. You're gonna have fake car accidents. You're gonna have the old school method to drink this bleach. You're gonna have all kind of unsafe stuff going on just to prevent you giving somebody the choice of what to do with their body. So people will risk their life not to have a life because it would impact their life, because you want to tell them what to do with their life.
Man, you should have said that before I went to the floor, man.
Man, I like that. We gonna have to coin that.
It's real.
You can take this. You can take this out.
I'm gonna use it for next year. For the next Constitution to be next year.
He says for the next time.
I mean, it's coming, man, and it's every year, and I don't know how how far we're gonna go. Like we have one that was passed in 14 that basically said to perform an abortion, you have to have admitting privileges in a hospital 30 miles in the 30-mile radius of the abortion clinic, and that would have shut down all but 2 abortion clinics,
Right.
and it still hadn't been decided. Actually, CNN was talking about it today that the Supreme Court they're reviewing whether or not they're going to grant a writ to hear that case. And that was another one that just flew out of the legislature. People, knowing it was unconstitutional, people voted for it anyway.
So I'm not familiar with, but when a bill fails, how long does it take for y'all to reintroduce it? You got to wait a whole another year.
Yeah, well, it depends. At this point of the session, because we only have 5 days left, it's too late. But you can always reconsider a bill with 2/3 vote.
Okay, so say it does become problematic, or y'all realize that it has become problematic, y'all can reintroduce it at the next session.
Next year, yeah.
So,
go
I
ahead.
got a question for both of you, since y'all the lawyers. And one term I keep hearing over and over again when it comes down to abortion is the undue burden standard. And to me, it's like, well, how aren't these things like undue burdens? Like, it seems like we make it harder and harder and harder for women to have access to have an abortion, but it seems like this stuff just continues to fly by, and it gets passed in different states. And I'm just trying to see, like, how don't...
Well, I'll tell you from just there are several lawyers that vote for these things knowing that they're unconstitutional, and I'll tell you that a lot of times that don't matter, because voters with abortion is one of those single issue things for people. When I was campaigning, I remember people asking me flat out, I don't care about anything else. What's your stance on abortion? And I say it's a personal stance. And I was like, and at the time I kept saying I'm not either, because for me, my standard for me is my standard. Right. But if there's something that comes before the legislature and is unconstitutional, I'm gonna go by my oath to protect the Constitution, and I'm probably not gonna vote for it. And it is a single issue, so the legal arguments don't even matter to people. But when you talk about the standard strict scrutiny, you have to show a compelling state interest, and all the things that we talked about are compelling interests, like inviting a black market, making sure that women aren't out there putting themselves in harm. Those are compelling state interests where a state should and government should intervene at that point. But man, folks just saying they don't care about the legal argument on issues of abortion because voters are so extreme on it. And it's one of those things that people, it don't really matter. And if you see some of the Facebook comments, there are some people that have said they, no matter what, they never gonna vote for the governor again, and or they'll never vote for some of the, because our bill passed with a lot of black people supporting them, a lot of women supporting these anti-abortion things in Louisiana, and it's not a white male problem here. It's a everybody problem, and those legal arguments folks just don't care.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like he said, that's why we have a judiciary, because it's the checks and balances, which is why it matters, who the justices are.
That's right.
That's what makes Roe versus Wade vulnerable.
But this is interesting. So, if you can, I'd like to have one of your colleagues that voted against it, male or female, black or white, on next time we do this to see what's their stance on it, because and so a couple of fellas disagree with me, but I thought it's a thing of keeping a poverty level, to making sure you always have a third-class citizen to do the work that nobody else wants to do, because ultimately the people having kids are the people that can't afford it, and that ends up being your third world. It ends up being your poverty class. So I feel like it's an issue of always keeping somebody impoverished in the United States, so that you have somebody to take those jobs and do those things that you don't want to do, so that you always keep yourself above somebody.
There's an element of that. I could look at my colleagues and I can tell you the folks that are legitimately convicted and the people that just don't care, and then just the outright evil, nasty people that we can't, from marijuana, we cannot legalize marijuana because we need to keep black men in jail, right? We can't let felons vote because we know that, or we believe that folks are going to come out and vote Democratic. So as Republicans, we can't do it no matter how it feels. And there are elements that people just don't give a damn. And I love to get Katrina will probably come. Katrina Jackson, she's from North Louisiana. She is a black woman and one hell of a legislator. I tell people, I said it on Facebook, if I got to pick one of my colleagues to go in the hole with, I'm going with Katrina. But on this issue, she's convicted. And but one thing about her, she is the ironic thing about Louisiana, we so pro-life, but we can't repeal the death penalty, right? And even in the debate, one of my colleagues was like, man, we could do a bill that says any victim of rape, the victim can decide whether or not the perpetrator can go to the death penalty. He's like, I support that right then, but I'm pro-life. And he said, but I protect innocent lives. That's how they try to differentiate, and you can't do that. You can't claim to be pro-life and then say we're gonna condemn an act by committing that same act, right? We're gonna condemn the death of a Twinkle, the star, but we're gonna champion, execution. It don't make sense.
Harper feeling her daddy over
I got one person that's
got on that soapbox and Harper like, yeah, Dad.
He said Twinkle and she said something right after.
Little star.
Yeah, man. It's an emotional issue. People are not necessarily voting based upon what they think
is right,
or what the people that voted for them wants. It's a personal issue. Sometimes it's hard to separate that out. That's why I was talking about that California case that got overturned, with that dissent by one of the justices, because that's making it easier for them to overturn Roe versus Wade. They're saying we don't even have to look at none of this. We just gonna vote how we feel like voting. And 5-4, that's all you need.
Right.
Is it? And we talk about the Supreme Court, but the issues are really the appellate courts.
Yeah.
Right? Because the appellate courts are the stopgate. And now in the Fifth Circuit, we just appointed Wendy Vitter, who is unapologetically pro-life.
Yeah.
Right? So we already know where she's going, and judges are supposed to be they're supposed to be the most unbiased, honorable, blind, and we get judges that you're gonna see it this year. We got a lot of judge races. The conservative, pro-life, pro-gun candidate. So that's basically telling you as a legislator, okay, you may need to know that information.
Right.
But as a judge, you're supposed to be blind. But that's basically telling you if there's an issue that comes up with abortion or with guns, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Because I'm already campaigning, telling you how I'm gonna rule from the bench. And that's unethical to me, right?
Yeah.
I think judicial candidates shouldn't even be able to talk about the issues. They should just be able to talk about their experience. But that's a whole nother discussion.
That's a federal judge.
That's right.
So they didn't, that's an appointment. It's not somebody that ran and got elected by the people.
Right.
But we're going to take a quick break.
She calling everybody's name over. That's what it's time for bedtime.
We're going to check Harper out. And we'll be back with more right after this.
You know your credit score bad. I'm not proud to be on Starbucks, baby. That's solid quality stuff. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books when it's Wait a minute. Like, if I want you, I ain't taking you to Waffle House at 2 a.m. You bullshit. If I care about you, we going to Waffle House.
All right, everybody, we're back. We have with us State Representative Ted James. We talked about some, pretty, I guess, emotional for most. Sensitive. There you
topic.
go. And we talked about this a little bit off the record, but I think it's important to mention it. Like, what are your thoughts as far as the governor signing the bill? Do you think this is a reason for people to not support him as much? I mean, we've known all along he's pro-life. it's still a lot of good things she's doing in Louisiana. Is there anything you want to highlight?
You know, I think that the reason they brought the bill was intentional.
Yeah.
Knowing that it would have put him in a box, being that he's a pro-life Democrat, and being that folks know how abortion could be a single issue. You know, I was one of the first people to jump out and support him, and I'm gonna continue to support him, and I want folks to look, you know, judge him by his body of work. It's just like it's anybody, just like any friend that you have.
Yeah.
You know, you can't judge him by one mistake. Judge him by his body of work. There are a lot of things we just can't afford to roll back if a Republican gets in.
Yeah.
You know, Medicaid expansion. Overnight, we're going to have over 300,000 people that's going to lose health care if John Bell is not reelected. You know, that in and of itself is important for us, because we know that most of those folks don't look like us, honestly. When you look at the numbers of Medicaid expansion, they not us. It's folks in rural areas, but it impacts us. And when you look at the number of, you know, young black women and you know, cancer patients now who, you know, screenings that never had screenings before. We just have to make sure that he's reelected.
So I didn't even think about that aspect of it. They kind of forcing his hand, like, okay, you got an election coming up. You say you about that pro-life, we're going to make you prove it. And if you do prove it and sign off, you about to lose your backing.
So either you could lose the Democrats or you could be a hypocrite. Pick one.
Well, will he pick up conservatives?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think so. I think that the folks, this issue is not going to make somebody that's not with you.
Right.
Because they have two other people that's view the same way as they view on this abortion issue, but they conservative with them on every other issue.
Right.
So it's like you chasing some folks that ain't going to be with you regardless.
Right.
And especially on I was upset with him that he didn't come out, because the governor in Louisiana, he could veto it, or he doesn't have to put his name on it. He could just not sign it, and it will automatically become law. So for me, I'm gonna say even Donald Trump is a lowlife. Donald Trump even said that he doesn't support the bills without the rape and incest. And the governor could have said, just like the president, I too won't sign it with the rape and incest amendment on it.
Right.
And he could have just automatically become law. But again, we just can't turn back the clock.
Yeah.
Forget your notes, Daddy.
I'm throwing everything.
So yeah, that's important, folks. It's, you know, it's one single issue, but we do have to consider the bigger picture.
But yeah, I understand where you're coming from there, because a Republican gonna stay with a conservative Republican. They ain't gonna necessarily swing to a conservative Democrat.
Not gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah. So
And we got to remember, John Bell beat David Vitter.
Yeah.
Right? So this was a different type of cat. Like, even Republicans didn't like him. This is not that kind of race.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I've talked to John Bell about personally. Like, dude, you got to excite not just the base, because these are people that's going to vote anyway.
Yeah.
You need to be exciting people that will traditionally stay home.
Right.
Right? And that's the type of person that is hurt by this kind of thing. Right? So now we got to spend the next 5 or 6 months trying to re-energize the base and get people that we weren't going to get.
Okay. And we got to be sure to get information from you to post about how we can get involved. You know, people that want to, you know, how they can participate in the process as far as getting him reelected.
Yeah, we got to do that.
So we got you here. We're gonna talk about a couple more things, and we're gonna let you and Harper get on back to y'all Sunday.
Oh, she just wanted the hat.
I know one of the issues we wanted to discuss was the minimum wage.
Yeah.
You know, what happened with that? You know, while y'all been in session, will we ever see an increase in minimum wage? What's going on?
I think the only way we'll do it is if it's a vote of the people.
Yeah.
I'm on the labor committee, and one of the issues is the committee is stacked.
Yeah.
So the chairman is a Democrat. So the way the legislature, the Speaker of the House sets the committees.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a Democratic chairman, and it's 6 Democrats and like 11 or 12 Republicans.
Yeah.
And so it's impossible to get something like that off. And we had a bill this year to say that, you know what, if the state won't do it, let the locals decide. So if East Baton Rouge Parish decided, let them decide it. And it's funny, my same colleagues that say, let's tell a woman what to do with her body, say, we can't tell businesses what to do in the business.
Yeah.
Right? We can't tell businesses to pay people more.
Yeah.
We can't tell businesses to pay these women more so they could care for these babies, but we could tell these women what to do with their body.
I'd like to see if those 11 and 12 Republicans that's, continuously voting y'all down on that, how many of them own businesses?
Well, a couple of them do. So the guy, Jack McFarland, that sits right next to me, he always talks about the fact that I pay my employees $12 an hour. I'm like, dude, well, you should be voting for the bill. Like, and because you recognize, right? Because you got folks that if they can't afford to do certain things, when they you got to be able to go to a special doctor to go on the weekends, right? So if you got a minimum wage work and they get sick, you missing productivity at work, right? But very few of them are.
Okay.
Well, what I don't understand is they didn't want the local governments to set their own minimum wage. It's like, look, I know $7.25 don't go far, but it'll go a little further in Donaldsonville, St. James area than it would New Orleans.
Most definitely.
And I just don't understand why you just don't let the local government decide. But I don't know. I just didn't get it. My only thing is I feel like people who voted that down just don't want to see people do well. They don't want to see people come up.
It goes back to what Shagari said. Folks,
Absolutely.
you want to keep a system. You
Right.
want to keep people inferior and impoverished.
Because who gonna work at McDonald's?
Right.
Yeah.
Who gonna work at all the places you like to go to and enjoy that make that low minimum wage job because they can't get nothing else because they don't have education?
Right. Right.
Well, I mean, that's the system. You want you to go out and get this degree that you can't afford, and then when you get it, you can't get a job.
But even without
But even if you go work at McDonald's,
You can't pay for a degree with McDonald's.
you can't support your
you
life.
can't pay for a degree with McDonald's, but I think McDonald's helps you get a degree now. If you work
Right.
for McDonald's, they'll help you pay for school.
Oh yeah.
But everybody that work for McDonald's not educated and don't have that aspiration. So it's a catch-22. McDonald's know when they offer that, it looks good in public eye. But honestly, how many of them finna try to go get a degree?
And how many of them working at McDonald's then leaving McDonald's to go work somewhere else?
Yeah.
You might not have the time. And that was one of the things that they talked about. Well, this one guy talked about, we even Uber drivers, when we were talking about minimum wage even and equal pay for women. Well, Uber put out a study and said that the men make more because they drive at later times and they drive on holidays when the women are at home with the family. So maybe women should be making those sacrifices that men make. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? Like, you gonna bring up Uber drivers while these are independent contractors, right? Like, and it just speaks to the level of like these folks are just so disconnected from reality, man. And in their world, outside of the people that's walking in cleaning their house, like they so disconnected from folks that have real life, paycheck to paycheck, multiple jobs, multiple responsibilities, because all the hard things that you got to do at home, you got somebody else doing it for you.
Yeah. What about the teaching issue, man? We talked about Texas pushing in $1.6 billion through to give their teachers a raise. I know you said there's some restrictions as far as what you can use.
Yeah, so we, of course, the budget as it stands today, and we have 5 days left of session. There's a teacher pay raise, but what the Republicans did, they put it in another area of the budget that makes it a one-time stipend. So if it's in the MFP, that's the formula, minimum foundation formula. That's how we fund schools and education. If we put the money there, then it's a real raise.
Yeah.
If we just put it in the budget, it's a stipend. And they want to be able to control the narrative. And so that's problematic in and of itself because it's not a real raise at this point. And then $1,000, that ain't much of nothing, right? And it goes back to your people say your priorities are where your money is, and if we not willing to invest it, then it shows that it's not a real priority. In Texas, what they used was surplus dollars. Now we have a surplus of about $300 million. But in Louisiana, our surplus can only be used in a certain number of ways, and it's you could use 25% of it to pay down the rainy day fund, so that's our savings account. You can use 10% to pay down the UAL, that's our underfunded accrued liability, so you could use that. Coastal protection projects and capital outlay, and capital outlay is basically infrastructure. And the last thing you could use it for is to pay down debt. So if we wanted to say, hey, we got a $300 million surplus, let's just apply that to teachers. We can't, because it's in the Constitution where we can apply the debt. I mean, where we can apply the surplus, which is another problem, right? You know, my colleagues talk about, oh, we should run the state like a business, and in a business, you want your business to have a surplus. But now, because we have a surplus, well, we only have a surplus because we forced to raise taxes on people. No, we got a lot of issues that our surplus, we could be paying down all these projects. Right? You know, a new bridge, we could you know, start working on that. But because all they care about is just political games, you know, they'll rather, oh, well, we only have a surplus because we overtaxed people when we didn't need to. We could be paying for a lot of things that are considered conservative priorities. Paying down debt, that's one of their talking points. You know, we could be using that right now, but they are so, you know, folks are, it's common, like I said, common sense just not common. Right?
And Baton Rouge so quick to shoot down infrastructure improvement.
Oh, man.
And we need it.
Oh, man.
That like traffic ain't a problem.
You know, gas tax, like we couldn't even bring it to a vote. Like the bill, we've had it 2 years, and the guy won't even bring it to a vote because people are so, you know, hard pressed and scared to vote on the tax. But that's more of a, like, we get regional issues on that one. So we got folks from North Louisiana that say, I'm not gonna vote for a gas tax to pay for a new bridge in Baton Rouge.
Right? Is there a plan for the bridge? Because
we got like 7 of them.
That's just the dumbest thing in the world, to have one lane feeding into I-10 East off of the bridge.
We got a plan for like 5 or 6 plans for bridges. Then where's the bridge gonna be located, right? I don't want y'all cutting through my small town for the bridge, right? You know, we not funding. I asking my constituents in Monroe, where you from, you know, to pay for a bridge in Baton Rouge. But the thing is, we have more money to pay for a bridge. We got more money for overlays in Monroe. We got more money to spread out to to rural areas too. But that becomes a regional fight, and then we try to name, you know, like North Louisiana, put some money in I-49, you know, put some money in I-10 down in Calcasieu, and some money for a bridge, you know, and then, you know, people get excited because President Trump announced this infrastructure plan and this $1 trillion infrastructure, and the president is the smartest person. However, there's a state match, and we can't even draw down that money because we don't have a state match. So we are paying a bill, and everybody around us is benefiting from it. So our tax dollars going right to Texas, Arkansas, and even Mississippi. Mississippi was smart enough to pass sports betting. Like we just killed the sports betting bill that would have gone to pay for early childhood education. Because we want to be so Christian conservative, but we want to rank last in education. And we got folks that we have numbers of people right here sitting in Baton Rouge, sitting in all 64 parishes, even the parishes that didn't approve the fantasy sports, that are betting in Mississippi from their home, from their cell phone, and money going right to Mississippi. And as Mississippi continue to get money, we gonna be 50th, and they gonna be 49.5, and then they gonna get to 48, 47, and we gonna be right here being happy because you can't get an abortion and we so Christian, but our kids don't. Right?
That and sports betting and weed, stuff that's not really hurting anybody.
Oh man, that's a whole nother show.
Stuff that's not really hurting anybody, but states that pass that are doing so well, and they have money to put into their schools for better school systems and everything else.
Yeah, they should have passed that. I got a question.
I guess we just love the struggle in Louisiana.
I got a question though. You mentioned about infrastructure in rural areas, man. Any help for my little bridge down there, man? My little Sunshine Bridge.
It's coming.
Man.
It's coming, man.
It's
coming. It's coming.
Well,
but
man.
you know, as you know, I think that I think we should do some toll roads. Like I had a bill that passed. It's not in my name. It's in Representative Labadane. So what we did right now is only one road that the state can issue a toll on, and that's LA1. So this bill that we just passed basically said the state can enter into a private-public partnership for toll roads anywhere, but it has to come through a legislative committee, and it makes perfect sense because I mean, if you don't want to pay the toll, go sit in traffic, right?
Man, look, when I was a kid, the Sunshine Bridge had a toll on it. It was $1 to cross it. The causeway got a toll on it too.
We need a loop. We need a loop. Why they
definitely need a
why
loop.
they got rid of the toll on the West Bank?
Because what the law said is they were only gonna keep it until it was paid off.
Mm-hmm.
So once it was paid off, it was a big fight to take it off, and they could have kept that and applied that to a whole nother lane or another, and it makes just perfect sense to do it. I mean, they got loops and stuff in Shreveport. Shreveport got better infrastructure than us right here in the capital city.
That's sad.
And we have.
Because I don't mind getting the license plate ticket when I'm in Houston or Dallas and I need to get on there to beat traffic.
Right.
That's right.
We take,
pay a little
every time we go on a Los
$5.
Angeles trip,
Yeah.
I don't care about that little $5 hitting my ticket. Man, but think about how many millions of license plates feel just like me. I don't care. I need just to
I'll
get
pay
where
that
I'm going.
for convenience.
Right.
People will spend money for convenience.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. It's a convenience. And if you don't want it, you sit in traffic with the rest of the folks that don't want to spend the extra dollars. So, but that I think that this year the infrastructure piece is going to be a huge campaign issue. A lot of these folks that are pushing for a gas tax are going to really start playing in the elections. And for me, as much as I wanted to see a gas tax, I was not about to vote for it because the groups didn't have enough minorities.
Yeah.
And I know the folks that's pushing for it are the engineers and the folks that's going to be making the money.
Yeah.
So I told them next year before you come back asking them for me to vote for it, we better have some black engineers on there because I know those the folks that are going to be making the money. Like my folks, local folks here in Baton Rouge that I know do some infrastructure work, and I called them like, hey, have y'all been contacted by this? And they sit in the room with these folks all the time. Move BR. They doing that.
Right.
But they haven't invited them to the table on this statewide work. And I told them, man, if you got 50 people and only 4 of them black, don't even come talk to me.
Right.
Right? Because I already know that my vote, and you're going to depend on the black caucus to vote this tax out. But then none of our people going to be making money now, Jack. Like next year, y'all better come with a more diversified group of people because I already know if they're not at the table now, they certainly not going to be at the table when the money start getting spent.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a major issue to me because we already limited. We already bordered by the river on this side, so the infrastructure got to improve. Because I know a lot of businesses losing money over not being able to grow.
Yeah.
Just because of our infrastructure.
But it's not only that, attracting businesses to Baton Rouge.
It's right. Yeah.
Right.
You gonna come and it's like, your school system, and then the infrastructure. We sit with these folks and people say, man, it's more about ease. Like it's less about the education because my people gonna be straight because we gonna send them there wherever. Right. So it's more about the ease of doing business, and we not gonna invest in a multi-billion-dollar facility if our goods are going to be sitting on I-10 and we can't get to them.
Yeah.
And our employees can't go back and forth to home or get to baseball practice or doctor's appointment or something like that. Like the other stuff, we going to work through that because we got the resources. If not, we'll build a school right like they doing in Women's Hospital.
Yeah.
Like we'll get a school. Don't worry about that. Just don't have our folks sitting in traffic.
I even complain about this to them a lot. Even having competing rates with New Orleans Airport. Like, I would drive to New Orleans just because we are the capital. It's ridiculous on how much more we have to spend to fly out of Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah.
Because we don't have a major airport. And I think we listen a lot of business there because we can't compete with New Orleans prices on, getting flights and stuff.
Yeah,
Like, I have to travel a lot. And now I drive to New Orleans, and it might cost me $60 in parking.
Yeah.
But just for me to
But you'll
save
do it.
$120
you'll do
on
it.
a flight.
But you still saving $60.
I know, but
And
it have more flight
it's your
options.
convenience. It's you could get direct flight options. You get ease and out, man. It's just everything is convenient. And we and they talk about like y'all should probably get Cleve Dunn on here because he's the director of the airport board, and he could talk to you about a lot of efforts because people think that Baton Rouge Airport just sitting there not trying. They are trying, and a lot of these airlines. They tell me that they look at hotel usage, and our hotel usage doesn't, the numbers just don't say to an airline expand. It don't say to a Southwest come to Baton Rouge when you right there in New Orleans. Because just like you said, the ease of just getting to New Orleans, they're like folks are just coming to New Orleans, so we don't need to invest in going to Baton Rouge.
We just need to use the numbers for football season then on hotels.
Exactly.
But well, at one point, wasn't they talking about putting a bullet train between New Orleans and Baton Rouge?
Yep. We that trail that a ram from I-10 all the way to Baton Rouge, New Orleans. We were doing that Jindal said no to some money that could have come down to do it. Man, I think we need one all the way down I-10. You know, don't stop Baton Rouge. Need to go straight to Houston.
Yeah,
right.
You know, and on down. That conversation was in like the infrastructure piece that the president offered. But again, we got to have the matching dollars to do it. And then it becomes the political fight. Where's it gonna go? Because whose neighborhoods are gonna be interrupted to build this?
So with the matching dollars, so the government gave us $10 billion. We have to have $10 billion.
You got to have whatever the percentage. It might not be a 10
okay.
million. You know, it could be a 60 to 1. Or,
Gotcha.
You know, it just depends. Like with the hurricane stuff, like when folks say, "Oh, well, FEMA came in and gave all that money," there's a state match with all that money too. So you know, even with that kind of stuff, there's a state obligation. It's not just it's not 100%. Like they say, ain't nothing free. There's no such thing as free money.
And if we don't match it,
it's our tax dollars, our federal tax dollars. That's going to other states that have the money to match it. Just like with Medicaid expansion. Before we expanded Medicaid, we were paying for it. We just were paying for people to get health insurance in Arkansas and all these other places.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's crazy.
So even if we didn't get the airport, the bullet train thing would just be helpful just because we got a train to take us straight to the airport.
Most definitely.
Right.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. You should be able to live in Lake Charles and work in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm. Look, people, they do it. Like New York and all these places, an hour and a half commute back and forth is nothing to them.
Yeah.
You know? And it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
you got an hour and a half commute or an hour commute just to go across the river.
Yeah, because you sitting on the train, you know how much work you could get? You know how much work you could get done in an hour and a half?
Yeah,
sitting
absolutely.
on the train?
Yeah.
You can get a lot of stuff done. Just sitting on the
work
train.
from their phones and their computers.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'd
Exactly.
be with that.
Oh, it's lunchtime.
I'd be with that. That'd be nice.
Man, we gonna take a quick break, and we gonna be back with our black prominent figure. You know we gonna do this all year round, not just during Black History Month. We gonna give it to you right after this.
You know your credit score bad. I'm not trying to be on the Starbucks page. That's solid quality time. Right. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books when it's Wait a minute. Like, if I want you, I ain't saying you to Waffle House at 2 a.m. Cause you bullshit. Hey, I care about you. We going to Waffle House.
All right, everybody, we are back. GP, who do you have for us, brother?
Brother, we're going to talk about one, Faye Waddleton. And Faye Waddleton became the youngest individual at the time and the first African-American woman to serve as president of the Planned Parenthood Foundation of America. She was essential in the fight to restrict legal abortion, and she, under her leadership, Planned Parenthood was able to help legalize the sale of the abortion pill. So she served about 14 years as the president of the Planned Parenthood Federation of America.
All right, man. That's you went deep down on that one. I never heard of her.
Yeah, man. I felt like it was real appropriate with the first topic we talked about to talk about Ms. Waddleton.
Gotcha.
So yeah, everybody. I hope, if nothing else, what you picked up from this episode is to become more engaged in what's happening right now politically. Because there's a lot that's going to be going on, particularly in Louisiana, over this next year or so. That being said, Ted, is there anything that you want people to know, pay attention to, start preparing for?
Papa said no.
I think that just and she leaves general election season, man. It's like these issues. It is very. I love to see the attention being played on issues in our generation, but remember that these decisions are really going to be made in October and November.
Yeah.
When you elect the people that are going to be in the Capitol with me.
Yeah.
Stay very, very, very in touch with and in tune with what's going on from local races. Like here in Baton Rouge, we have judges races coming up, all of the legislative races coming up. And then next year in April, the census. And I know black folks, we We worry about the census. We don't want to answer questions. If we got warrants, we worried about that. But it's important when you talk about federal dollars. That's how it's determined how resources are sent to Louisiana. And in our state, we have too many hard to count areas. So basically, it's a lot of apartments, right? Yeah. Elderly. And this time, 10 years ago, there were a lot of money on the ground. A lot of folks that will say, we didn't get any information from you, so they knock on your door. They don't have that this year. And a lot of it is electronic. And we know elderly and poor folks, they don't have the technology that we have just sitting around this table in certain neighborhoods. So it's important that we are counted. Because it talks about the resources that come down, and it talks about the representation. Like, we could pick up another congressional seat if our population can show that we rebound. So just those issues. Have these conversations and not be just don't judge stuff on what we see on the internet, and really do your research and pay attention to what's going on, man. And just again, thank you guys. Just for being able to talk about these things, because I see things at a very high level, and the marijuana discussion, like medical marijuana, we didn't even talk about that. And all these issues, hemp, all these issues. Black folks, if you own land, right, you need to be making sure that you're getting this hemp thing. If you don't want to grow it, make sure sell that family land that you've been sitting on, because there are folks that are about to come, enter into some type of agreement with these folks to use your land to cultivate. We've been farming forever.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And now this hemp stuff, it is about to blow up, and we just can't afford to not be at the table with it. So many issues. Like, for my colleagues, Black elected officials, we always have been on the social issues. Like, we are starting to focus more on the the economic issues and economic justice. So that's why we need to, as I'm called out of here, start being very intentional on conversations about those ways that we could really. That's how we transform our communities there, on the economic issues.
All right, man, brother Luke, we certainly appreciate you coming in and taking the time.
Absolutely.
We know you still in session.
Yeah.
You still got work to do.
My last Sunday there today.
And we definitely going to be looking to have you back a little closer to election time. So we want to make sure we get this right. Get the right people where they need to be.
That's right.
Amen. That's right.
All right, everybody, that's it. We are out.
Your credit score bad. I'm not gonna call you on stuff, but that's solid quality stuff. Right. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books? Wait a minute. Like, if I want you, I ain't saying you the Waffle House. That's who I am. Cause you bullshit. I care about you. We going to Waffle.